So why does the 2024 Toyota Tacoma feel so big? Was Toyota overcompensating for something? Did they intentionally try to make it look bigger than maybe it really is? You know, there's about 8 different things, I think, on this truck that give it that really big, massive feel. Number one, the huge air dam. Look at that thing. I mean, you can even see it behind all this stuff, this chin strap, this air dam in the front. It is huge. Now, it's gonna go. I'm not gonna leave it on my truck. I have heard rumor that removing it will cost me 4 to 5 miles per gallon. I don't believe that to be true at all, especially if you're driving slower speeds. You know, maybe on the highway, I don't know, but I don't think so. But it's huge. Next up, the larger, chunkier fender flares. Look at the size of these things. They stick out from the sides, or at least they give you that impression, that view. And then we also have the little slats in the front for airflow, obviously. You know, and I wonder how strong these are. I mean, this bumper is just, or not bumper, this fender flare is just plastic, right? Almost looks kind of flimsy to me. I hope not. And I imagine if you were a big time off-roader, you were running into things with that, you might actually rip those big old chunky fender flares off. But look how big they are, how much bigger they are than what the previous Tacoma was. Just a larger, kind of chunkier footprint, I think. Number 3, the chunky door handles. It's one of the things that I noticed right off when I drove the TRD Sport for the first time. These things remind me of the Tundra. And a lot of people talk about some of the styling cues, or a lot of the styling cues, making it through to the Toyota Tacoma. And I think they're right in this case. These things are gigantic. And just looking at the truck, it's just part of the whole package that kind of gives you that bigger feel, I guess, for the truck. I don't know. I can't say that I don't like them, but they're definitely bigger than what we're used to in previous versions. Next up, number 4. I just noticed this recently. I couldn't put my finger on it until recently, and that is the bigger fuel door. This thing is huge for what it is. I mean, all you really need is something big enough to accommodate this area, right? I mean, this is the meat and potatoes. This is all you need. But instead, we have what looks to be this gigantic fuel door on there. I mean, when you look at it into proportion with everything else, take the door handles, for example, look how big that is. It just adds to the overall size of the truck, I think. And again, it seems that Toyota is kind of overcompensating with some of these things. Why do we need a fuel door that big? Number 5, these big running boards, steps. Remember what we used to get with the Tacoma? They were the Predator side steps. A pretty good looking side step, arguably the best looking that you could get, but certainly not as functional as these running boards are. And they are just like boards, like a big 2x4, maybe a 2x5, I don't know, fastened on the side of the truck. Now, they're highly functional, of course. They do have Tacoma on them. They have pads for traction. And obviously, when you get in and out, there's plenty of room to step your foot on there. Unlike those old, kind of more narrow Predator side steps that we used to have. Again, they just add to the feeling, I guess, that the Toyota Tacoma, the 2024, is much bigger than it really is. Now, this next one, and I think this is probably the most polarizing feature on the new truck, and it is this kind of roof cap thing that they have up here. It's almost like they added, and maybe they did, a spoiler to the back. I mean, this kind of juts out, kind of like a spoiler would, right? It kind of looks out of place. It makes the back end, or this transitional area, look kind of funky, I think. It really does look like maybe it's a Toyota Tacoma wearing a backwards hat. Now, we all know why they did that. They did it, of course, to extend the height of the truck, to give us more space inside. And you can even kind of see in the line here, it almost looks like you could just lift this off, right? Grab a hold of the hat, take it right off the top. Again, it just adds to the, I guess, feeling that the Tacoma is bigger than it really is. Now, this next one, I think is kind of funny, actually. It is the exhaust tip. The whole exhaust part back here is bigger. If you look at the diameter of the tubing here, it's bigger than what we ever had before. I mean, look at how big this is. Of course, this is just a cap, but the exhaust itself, at least the piping or tubing off of the back, is bigger than what we ever had, and that gives a larger overlay, not really an overlay, cap, I guess, when you want to do a blacked out exhaust tip. It just looks kind of giant back here as compared to what we've seen in the past. Almost kind of comical. And it kind of hangs out a little bit too far, I think. It'd be nice if it was in a little more. What I really would have liked to have seen is a dual exhaust back here where Toyota would have fed the exhaust in two different spots off the back of the truck. That would have looked pretty cool, I think. Lastly, this rear window. I don't know what Toyota was trying to accomplish here. Something is just not right. It almost looks like it was an afterthought and they just kind of slapped a piece of glass on there. And it looks really big. You would think that with something as large as this appears, you would have really great visibility out of the inside of the truck. But it's a little bit misleading. When you get inside the truck and look out, you can see that that glass is really kind of small as compared to the real estate that it takes up in the back. Not quite sure why they did that. It's almost like they could have stopped the mirror right in this area. And if you can see my finger, my hand through here, that's where the trim work stops. So you lose about 3 or 4 inches on the bottom where there's actually glass that you cannot see out of. Right in this area from here down is absolutely useless. And what about where they actually kind of joined it up? I mean, look at this. It looks like it's just sitting here. There's no trim work around it. I don't understand why they did it that way. You know, the old Tacomas at least had that kind of vinyl or plastic, rubber, whatever gasket around it to stop it from leaking. Now, there have been complaints in the past about leaks on that rear window, and maybe that's why Toyota decided to do it this way, so that they could maybe change it up so it doesn't leak anymore. I'm not sure. But there are a few things on the truck that are big, that make it look big. Did Toyota do this to overcompensate? To maybe make us feel it's a bigger truck than it really is? Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.